Pleasant good day to all of my YouTube fans across the globe. Once again, it's my pleasure to stand before you to do another YouTube presentation. And as usual, I greet you with my typical salutation. I, Imo Rameses Bakari, your psychologist and life coach from the magical community of Point Fortin in Trinidad and Tobago, located in the Southern Caribbean. It is my desire to inspire you to rise higher. It is my desire to inspire you to rise even higher. It is my desire to partner with you to ensure that you are motivated to believe in yourself and to achieve your goals in 2025. It is my desire to continue producing inspirational videos on a weekly basis. And this will be done in terms of the partnership that we share with you through coaching, through teaching, through writing, through motivational speaking, through consultancy services, through community advocacy, and in any other progressive medium to bring the message to you. Because we want to ensure that you really become the best versions of yourself this year and beyond. And we certainly will use those platforms to make sure that that becomes a reality. So we also remind you of the services that we offer. Our ongoing courses, our 10-week course entitled The Fundamentals of Psychology, costing $3,800. Our 4-week course entitled The Fundamentals of Public Speaking, costing $1,200 for students and $1,800 for the general public. And our 4-week course entitled Mastering Emotional Intelligence, costing $1,800 for students and $2,500 for the general public. You can also contribute via the YP and Patreon links flashing at the bottom of the video and the account information flashing across the screen. You can also buy my book, Conversations, priced at $100 TT. You can also buy the book, A Tribute to African Civilization, costing $100. Understanding George Week, costing $150. And all you need to do is give us a call at 778-5141 or 779-2544 or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. And the motivational word for you today, it's a line from a song, and love is the answer. And the topic today is looking at some further thoughts on the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, as I said in a previous video, I am not a spokesman on behalf of any political entity in this country, and I speak to you with a sense of justice and a belief in the creation of a new and just society. As I said in a previous video, people through the medium of electoral politics have exercised their right to put different organizations in office. And sadly, in my estimation, the kind of development that this country should have realized and the kind of issues that we have to grapple with, it's a sad indictment in terms of the quality of leadership that we have experienced in Trinidad and Tobago, regardless of regime. Nonetheless, those who have been entrusted with the responsibility, people look towards them to make some kind of change in their fortunes. Although I always hold the view that people must take responsibility in terms of determining the kind of society that they would like to live in. And I mentioned in a previous video about my thoughts on the Ministry of the People. But another concept of the Ministry of the People is that the people can operate in their own interests by forming constituency councils in all the constituencies, totally devoid of political influence. Given the nature of this country, you might say that is brutally impossible. But I'm just suggesting the idea that this entity is totally committed, created by the people, sustained by the people, and in the interest of the people. So you have these councils in all the constituency, then you have an overarching body, which will be a people's governing council that will coordinate the activities of this council. And these councils, or the people's governing council, can identify areas, for example, social development, economic development, cultural development, educational development, and organize activities to promote these things in the way best possible by the resources coming from these individuals. I suggested cooperative as one option, but there can be many other parameters. So I'm saying the Ministry of the People could also be a movement totally run and developed by the people, working in their interests, and supported by whatever government help, given the projects that they are doing, that could be, synchronous with what they may be doing. So that is just one idea. Now, the other point I would like to make is that many times when parties campaign, they achieve their objective of getting into office. But sadly, when they get into office, they continue campaigning. Now when you get into office, you now have the legal right to govern. And people would like to see something that is different. But sadly, again, we have been plagued with what I will call old politics, the we and them kind of attitude to politics. So sometimes people may say one thing, and then when you observe closely, you are recognizing the same kind of thing taking place. For example, there may be officials in a particular position appointed by a particular government, and when a new government comes in place, whether the person is competent or not, their man or their woman is brought into the position. I'm saying that kind of politics smacks of immaturity. And for Trinidad and Tobago to really truly develop, we must shift away from the we and them concept of politics and really look for the best available talent. I have heard, the so-called major parties talk about they being the best option for Trinidad and Tobago and having the best talent. But, talent is abundant in Trinidad and Tobago, and there must be a commitment in terms of putting people with talent in portfolios to serve this country. But many people, because of the character assassination and things of that ilk, sometimes they keep far from, getting involved in such activities. When we think about board appointments, a board should be people with the requisite competence and not just supporters of a particular party. If you have supporters of a particular party, at least they should be competent, but we should be mature enough in terms of putting a team together that can give the kind of policy direction to make these organizations better. But if you have partisan political lens governing such things, it certainly could compromise the effectiveness of such an organization. Another important thing that is important is that whilst the citizens don't really have any real power, whilst they may not be in the cabinet of the country, remember, their vote allowed you to be in office. And the least that people in office should do is to inform people with credible data as to the state of the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago. So in the previous video, I mentioned that this present regime, who is just there about 2 months or so, spoke about the resuscitation of the Point-to-Pay refinery. Now, we know that, in the same year, this refinery was closed 30th November 2018. So I'm asking the question, given the fact that, these plants have not been in service for 7 years, could it be a situation where, we have an obsolete entity? So the people, or whatever technical team that is doing the evaluation, I am saying, do not leave the citizens in the dark. Inform them every step of the way as to the feasibility of this activity, so they can have evidence to guide them and not just to cultivate hope where the possibility may not necessarily be realized. Restarting a refinery is not starting a parlor. There's a lot of technicalities involved, even the evaluation will take time, even determining what can move forward in terms of units, etc. It's a very complex undertaking, and I'm saying the only way that citizens could really know what is going on is by being informed. So I'm just coining a mantra: inform the people, inform the people, inform the people, so that false hope will not be cultivated. We started this, it stirs a lot of nostalgia and people have been associated with it, and it's a fact that the closure of that refinery has significantly crippled the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. So if there's a feasibility, if there's a possibility for it to be restarted, give us the data so that people can be properly guided. And as a song particularly stated, I don't want to be waiting in vain. And the only way we will not be waiting in vain is by being given the data to guide the possibilities that may exist. The people are deserving of that. The people are the major stakeholders. They do not have cabinet positions, as I said, but they are the ones who gave you the opportunity to serve them. All right? Within the recent weeks, we have had a situation where 10,000 plus CPEC workers were sent home. Now, the CPEC program has had a lot of discussion surrounding it for many years in terms of its politicization, in terms of the scope of its work. But nonetheless, from observing in terms of their role in cleaning around Trinidad and Tobago, I don't think any one of us will disagree that they have been doing a good job in maintaining the different open spaces in Trinidad and Tobago in a very, very, very good way. Now, when the petroleum workers were sent home, it was a very traumatic experience. There was a lot of negative fallout in terms of impacts on families, in terms of people, loss of lives, in terms of financial complications, etc. So the CPEP workers, who are really the most vulnerable in the society, and if it is true that the former regime was the ones who were kind of dominating that organization, influencing it, the fact is these people are workers. And mind you, I'm no spokesman for the PNM, I'm no spokesman for the UNC, but I'm saying we got to show the love in that we have workers involved here. And even though you are reviewing your program, nothing wrong in reviewing it, nothing wrong in realigning it. I heard a big statement that it is being realigned to suit the objectives, the original objectives. Could that realignment really mean bringing the contractors of your favor? And if that is so, will those contractors reabsorb the displaced workers, or will they bring in workers of their own? I have my doubts, but I will be happy to be proven wrong. We cannot treat people and everyone, regardless of their political allegiance, they are people, and everyone deserves a right to exist. I remember in my former role as an executive member of NJAC many years ago, in a very comprehensive policy document, we had a statement that work is a right and not a favor. So whether you belong to the UNC, whether you belong to the PNM, whether you belong to whatever political organization, you have a right, as every other citizen, to decency in terms of the basics of life. And I'm saying, if it is, given the fact that I heard, a very lofty statement by the current Prime Minister, that there were Prime Ministers before her, there will be Prime Ministers after her, but none of them will love you as she does. Now, if that is true, the action taken against the CPEC workers does not indicate the love. It is important for a Prime Minister to show love and compassion. And if that is the case, it will motivate love in the society. Remember, people take the cue from their leaders. And if there is love emanating from leaders, certainly it will spill over into the society. We must see that kind of harmonization in Trinidad and Tobago. I remember former Prime Minister Pandey making the statement that race is intricately tied to the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. And it's an issue that is not really discussed in a mature way, in a way to advance Trinidad and Tobago. But many of the conversations in bars, in homes, or in workplaces are very negative conversations. But if Trinidad and Tobago is to truly develop, we definitely need to have unity among the races. And it is kind of misplaced that we do not have a ministry of race relations. The question of race relations must not be shied away from, because we need to get to the core, we need to get to the essence, we need people to better appreciate themselves, we need people to know their foundations, and use that as a platform for promoting unity. But we need maturity. As I said in the beginning, the we and them kind of politics, that is something of the past. We need leaders to speak with the citizens on the basis of truth, on the basis of love, not on the basis of Machiavellian principles. As you know, many of these politicians have studied that book, Machiavelli the Prince, where you will do anything to achieve your objective. You will lie, you will deceive, you will do anything. And that kind of politics has been very destructive to the true development of Trinidad and Tobago. So these are some further thoughts, right, about the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. We need greater maturity. We need, fairness in terms of the distribution of resources, right? As the great Black Stallion, Dr. Leroy Kelly said, he says, sufferers do not care about race. Sufferers only care where the next meal coming from. The displaced CPEP workers, the displaced petroleum workers, the displaced ISCOT workers, ISPAT workers, all of them are workers, regardless of political allegiance, and they must be treated with love. So if there is love coming from the top, let us show the love. Let us do not allow the most vulnerable to find a way, right? Because that could be very dangerous in ways that we cannot really entertain or would like to encourage. So I'm saying, let us embrace the responsibility reposed in the leaders to really promote development in the interest of the people. Talking about the people, and at the end of the day, the people cannot really experience the basics of life. It's a total contradiction. It's a total disservice to the role that politics should play in a society. As I said in a previous video, politics is really a noble practice, but many of the practitioners across the globe, they have emasculated the nobility in politics, and many people have lost faith in it. All right? We the people have a serious responsibility in terms of contributing to the development of Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, or wherever part of the world we are located, in terms of creating a new type of politics. All right? We need empathy, we need love, we need proper policies, we need the engagement of the society. For example, there was a recent announcement about raising the age for alcohol, etc., purchases, etc. I am saying all good and well, but we need to do the hard work. We need to engage with the people who are addicted and find out why. Work with them, because the more something, becomes prohibitive, given the level of addiction that exists, that by itself certainly will not stop the problem. We need to do the hard work, we need to engage the people affected, and we need to work for solutions. Populist decisions may have some appeal, but they will not stand the test of time. So let us dig deep, every one of us who really love Trinidad and Tobago, to make this place a better country. I thank you for listening, and I'll be very happy to hear your thoughts given my various comments made in this presentation. Right? Remember, Trinidad and Tobago belongs to all of us. All of us have to play a role. Let us play that role, and let us create a new and just society, a better and brighter Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks again for listening. Remember to support our work by contributing via the account information flashing on the screen, via the YP and Patreon links, by participating in our courses, and by engaging us in any other type of service, whether it's a counseling or coaching appointment, where we can help to empower and make you into a better person. All you need to do is give us a call at 1-868-778-5141, 1-868-779-2544, or email us at leadershipwithadifference@gmail.com. So thanks for listening, thanks for viewing, and stay tuned for another powerful presentation next week, please God. Bye.